I recently stumbled across this Matchbox Romping Rabbit, a VW Golf 4x4. It was produced from 1982 to 1986. This particular one is from 1982, and I knew I wanted to do something with it. Searching the internet, I came across the Killer Rabbit Racing Team. You see them up there at the right. And I knew, even though that's a rally car, I knew I needed to use their design and that idea for this 4x4. So that's the direction it's going. Drilled it apart, one post up front. The tail lights hook in the back of the casting. I don't know if you saw that earlier when I was drilling it out. But then the wheels are held in place by this little plastic bracket. They're held into the base. It had two little posts. And this isn't all that uncommon for some Matchbox castings. I've run across it before. So there you see it after it comes out of the stripper, and I've hit it with the buffing wheel a little at this point. It's looking pretty good. Drilled it and tapped it. Nice big post up in the front. So tapping it was no problem at all. It took a 256 screw. So that all worked out really well. I was really happy with the direction this thing was going. There you see me, I have the base back on it at this point, just making sure everything's going together well. I did strip the base as well. I'm going to repaint it black. But there's something about this 4x4 Rabbit that's just really funny to me. And I knew I didn't want to take it the direction, just make it look like a rally car. And I wanted to use the Killer Rabbit Racing, the design on the hood. I wanted to definitely use that. I thought that was so cool. And I had some ideas for the rest of it. Now the body was pretty clean. I did go over it quite a bit with the file, just sharpening up some edges, getting rid of some, casting lines. There were a couple casting spots where there were blobs, and I got rid of those as best I could. Couldn't get rid of them completely. Wasn't too worried about it, to be honest with you. So yeah, this is really sped up. I think this is 5 times normal speed. So yeah, there was a lot of filing that did go into this, and using a couple different files. I have the half round files. Having an assortment of files really comes in handy. The half round ones, particularly around wheel wells and stuff, come in especially handy. You don't want to be using a flat file in those areas. So once I had cleaned the body all up, went over it with the buffing wheel again on the Dremel, dip it in the IPA, isopropyl alcohol. I think it's 90% as I recall is the one I use. And when I went to paint that, then I decided to design some decals. And there you see them. I decided 187 for the number. Some of you will know the reason for that. The Killer Rabbit Racing wording. The logo for the hood I actually found online. So the body I painted with white lacquer. I love the lacquer paints. This is the lacquer you've seen me use 100 times. The decals, I was able to print those since it's a white body on the car. I just printed those on white decal paper as opposed to clear decal paper, which made it even easier. I wanted the splat of blood on the roof. There I cut one of the little drops off because the fit just wasn't working the way I wanted. Even though I had kind of designed them ahead of time to be a certain way, once I had it on there, it was like, I think I need to just trim that up a little bit more. When I did the numbers for the sides, those are on a splat of blood too. And then I just put the box with the number in there. So you'll see that here in a second when I kind of give a more completed view of the decals. The Killer Rabbit Racing I did a little fancier than the the actual racing team had on theirs. Theirs was pretty much all hand painted. So I did put a couple of blood drops on the back there and on the rear quarters. The base, as I said before, I did strip the paint off of that, dipped that in the IPA to get any grease, any residue off of that. Wipe that. That I just hit with solid black lacquer. I decided, I just wanted to keep it black. I do paint. It had a nice amount of detail on it, so I do use the Sharpie to detail some of the stuff on the base. The glass wasn't in the best shape. Fortunately, it wasn't cracked. But I went over it with foots, and up above you see the 3000 grit sanding sponge. I did go over it with that as well and wet sanded it very lightly. It's one of those things where I always worry about cracking a glass like that. It's so fragile. Here you see me doing some of the detailing on the base. On the silver, on the tail lights, I did hit those with the Tamiya clear red. There you see the clear red over those. The wheels. I found these Real Riders. They come in the boxes. You can buy the boxes of Real Riders separately from Mattel online. And those were almost the exact same size and just had such a better look to them. And I didn't want to try and re-chrome the old wheels when these things do look so much better. I do end up putting spacers on the axles. And for those, I forget what they're called, the hot swap bearings, something like that is what Second Chance sells them as. And what I did, they were too fat. You see me have problems with the bearings when I tried to do the hot swap bearings before. Oh, and by the way, quick interruption. I am using Pledge on the glass as opposed to gauzy. I know. Some of you are thinking sacrilege right now, but the glass was too big to dip in the gauzy. So while you see me do the final assembly here, I did want to mention the bearings. I just cut the hot swap bearings in half using an X-Acto knife and then popped them on the axle. And I'm really pleased with the results. So it's an easy way to create spacers. So there you see everything as it's finished. I just need to pop the glass in. You see I kept the interior, the original red plastic. I did not paint that, I just washed it. I did detail the trailer hitch that I left on, which I know some of you are going to be shocked by that. But I painted it black to make it kind of disappear into the bumper. I did not want that thing standing out as red. And then I used a silver Sharpie to detail like the steering wheel, parking brake, shift knob, that kind of thing. Not a lot on the inside. It doesn't stand out very much, the silver against the red, but it's a little more detail. And I'm really pleased with the way this thing turned out. I can't help but laugh when I look at it. I love the 2 drops of blood above the taillights there. But, and it rolls. It definitely is roll. This thing rolls almost too well. So there you see the before shots. And I just have stills of the before and glamour shots here at the end. No turntable shots because for whatever reason, although the before pictures on the turntable were okay, the after, I don't know if it's the white background against the very bright white car. It just wasn't showing up all that well. The glamour shots really do a better way of showing it here. So I hope you like this build. I had a heck of a lot of fun doing it. And I'll let you go through the rest of the glamour shots. Everybody stay safe and healthy out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.